Hello. I'm going to be looking at the Turkish land forces that are currently on the Squad Public Testing Branch, along with Sansian Islands playtests. I'm starting with my favorite of them all, which is the twin Huey that's been added as Turkey's helicopter. Um, this is a upgraded version with a stronger engine and a bit of a unicorn horn with the pitot tube mounted on the top. An interesting quality about it is it lacks the screen in the front that all other helicopters in Squad have. So there's only dials, but you still have information like knots, altitude, um, your heading, all of that kind of stuff. Um, the second seat, the co-pilot seat, has no camera, as some of the newer Hueys have, and it's mounted with a MG3 on either side. Inside, this helicopter has pretty standard seating, and it can hold 900 supplies in total. If you saw just there, the RPM gauge is going up, and in a moment you'll see all of their gauges going up. Um, like I mentioned before, there is no display of collective, which is a really irritating thing, honestly, if you have to just play it by feel. Um, just more work. So I'd at least like it if there was some represented throttle. But you can see the nav ball turning, the altitude and climb rate changing, the knots changing, all of that. And something I immediately noticed about this helicopter is it's incredibly speedy, fast, nimble, agile. Even more than the other Hueys, it just lacks the weight that the other ones have. And it's so enthusiastic about going fast and doing whatever you want it to. Um, it's a really enjoyable little thing to fly. Honestly, it reminds me more of like a little bird than a um, traditional transport helicopter. You'll see the helicopter bouncing around a little bit. I was on a live server with pretty high ping for this, um, but it I don't know. It's Squad. It'll be like that. Um, yeah. So I'll leave you to some flying for a little bit. Another easily noticeable quality about this helicopter is it's incredibly floaty. So even seasoned pilots will have to get used to how aggressively it will just continue in whatever direction you'd like. As you saw there, it still does have the landing camera, which is very nice. Um, but this helicopter will stay in air whether you like it to or not. So always be prepared for that. Now taking a look at other vehicles that the Turkish Land Forces has available to them. We'll first look at the BMC logistics truck. So this is quite a stout little fellow, um, and it's the first vehicle that we have that has a tarp cover. You can climb up onto it from the wheel well side, which is interesting, but you can't stand on top of the tarp, unfortunately. Um, but you can see that there's supplies in here as it's a logistics truck and benches for infantry. Um, we'll hop into it in a moment and check out its driving. It drives, sounds, everything just like a normal logistics truck. Um, maybe a little aggressive on the turning, but that's all. It is noticeably shorter than other ones, but it does have the same amount of build, 3,000, or same amount of supplies. Um, and then looking at the Cobra, the Turkish scout car. Um, it's again pretty typical. Sounds the same, looks pretty much the same, drives pretty much the same. You do have the counter for the turret health. Um, and speaking of the turret for this, it's just your typical M2 RWS. Has stabilization, all that kind of stuff. It does display, and for other RWS, for the Turkish land forces, it says smoke and then the number of rounds. That's not actually counting smoke. Um, it's just a visual bug that will hopefully be gone soon. Looking at the other variants, we have an open-topped MG3 variant and an RWS MG3 variant. Interestingly, these have smokes that are poppable, mounted on the front. Just have to shut off the engine for this. I don't know about you, but it irritates me. And then for the transport variant of the BMC, you can't jump on the wheel, unfortunately. But you have a opened up kind of a safari van style vehicle. Same style, same build, everything. Just holds 300 ammo, and then it can hold, I believe, 11 people in the back. But obviously, you're more open with the tarp pulled back. You still got a sunshade, which is cute. Um, I'm curious, honestly, what the choice was to uncover this part, um, as it could have been a real good quality about using the transport trucks. Looking at the APCs real quickly, we'll go more in depth. There's the PARS 3 APCs right here. You have a grenade launcher and an RWS M2, just another logistics truck. This one has a Bushmaster mounted. This is the ACV-15 IFV, which also has a Bushmaster mounted, and then just another logistics truck. You have another Cobra, and then the heavily modified M60 Patton vehicle. So you can see there's a bunch of mounted armor, reminiscent of the Leopard, of which Turkey has in real life, but not in game, at least as of yet. Taking a look, there's just more to it. You can see that iconic cupola on the top with the M2 mounted. You have 8 smokes, and your standard 120mm NATO gun. Now, looking at the M60 more in depth, you can notice in the names they copied over names from the Abrams, but that isn't displayed on the barrel. Just listening to the engine here. It drives pretty normal, it feels like. Has all your typical tank attributes. Like I said, the standard 120mm with all of your usual rounds, 3 zoom, stabilization, high explosive, machine gun, smoke, and then smoke launchers. And then in addition, you have the cupola I mentioned earlier with its usual just HMG, not an M2, but its predecessor for what's used. Yeah, just a usual typical tank. Nothing very special about it. Moving on to the ACV-15. This was built off of a separate American IFV APC style vehicle. Your usual stuff, pretty whiny engine. The driver can launch smoke launchers, which is interesting. And then you just have the basic Bushmaster. Basic just 2 times zoom, I think, or three levels of zoom. And your usual everything. Reloadable coax, so pay attention to that. And then just a lot of seating inside. It can hold a full squad inside. Then next we have those Pars 3 vehicles that we talked about earlier. These have quite a large sight picture, as you can see, for the driver. A little less than I was expecting, however. Again, just your pretty standard vehicles, pretty similar to the Strikers that are in front of them. This one has the exact same turret as before on the ACV-15, so the Bushmaster. This was a little weird. The placement of the crew inside seems to be levitating above, so we'll see what happens with that. And then for the other Pars 3, you have a grenade launcher mounted on the top, RWS as well. These are not amphibious, so keep that in mind. Don't try to go swimming. And then moving on, just taking a look at other versions, there's the M2 RWS, which is pretty just regular, basic, and then MG3 RWS, again, just basic. There's other versions of the ACV with open top turrets with the M2 and MG3, and a lot of smokes on the front, as you can see. Just the usual stuff. Cobras, like we saw earlier. And then the same 2 logistics trucks. Okay, so if we switch over to the kit, I'll try and rapid fire through this. This is the standard A940 scope. It's very similar to the Australian one, the Spectre, where it has variable zoom at 1 times and 4 times. Just your usual basic scope. Nothing super special. I believe there's something going on with the tracers. It makes them look like that. It'll be fixed, obviously. Then for the other squad leader kit and the other the hollow sight, Call site. Nothing to write home about. Here's your usual regular kits. Um, all your basic stuff. Um, Same thing replicated with the rifleman. What's interesting is you have an MG3 machine gunner inside of the the regular kit line, which is usual MG3, very basic. Um, and then you have the gendarme kit. This functions almost like a Raider, as the image implies. It uses a 9x19 gun, I believe, so more of an SMG. In real life, gendarme is more of a military police of sorts, but I guess they figured to include it. Um, Not certain why. Um, and then it's just here's their unarmed kit, so we can look at the camo. Okay, moving on. So there's two grenadiers. The first one has your usual basic grenadier kit, interestingly with the better scope, and then usual grenade launcher or your usual 10 HE and 2 of each of the smoke. But then what everyone's writing home about is the other um, grenadier kit, which has the MGL, which has 6 shots of your usual 40 millimeter rounds. You load them in just like that, close the container, and then you're able to fire each individually without reloading for those 6 shots, and then you have your long reload, as you saw. This is really interesting. You essentially have an automatic rifleman for a grenadier. This will definitely be a recognizable weapon on the battlefield. That has smokes as well. And then for the AT rifleman, which is an interesting name, just the RPG-7, and then the other one has the Turkish version of the law, the AT4 law, and then same thing with this one, but with the longer scope. For the marksman, you have a modified version of the main rifle with the Keskin scope. It goes 6 times to 12 times. It's a pretty nice scope. There's quite a lot of movement when you do switch between scopes, and obviously I had to try it as a marksman lover. Overall, pretty good, solid rifle. As you can see, a lot of their weapons have those see-through magazines with the amount of bullets in them. I'm not sure if it's fully represented. And then you have the PMT-76 right here. I'm not sure what this is based off of. Curiously, with the A940 scope, so you'll have that 1x and 4x zoom. And then lastly, the combat engineer, just your standard combat engineer with 1 C4 and 3 anti-tank mines. Thank you for watching. That's all. I'll bring hopefully some combat footage with these weapons and these vehicles in soon times. Thank you.